Most men would prefer to be a providing husband and an absent husband than to be a present husband that is struggling with providing for the family.
Depending on what season of life you are in, it can be demanding. In the early days of business, you're doing everything. You're spending long hours. One difficult point that we hardly speak about is sometimes the man is present physically, but he's mentally absent. It's a difficult place to be.
The man only thinks that his role as a husband is to be a provider. As long as I'm providing for this marriage, I'm paying the bills, I'm paying for the lifestyle, I'm good.
But let's even talk before marriage. It's also important to understand where your spouse is going to or who you want to marry. If you're going to marry a pastor, for instance, the demand on a pastor is different. Success in one part will not compensate for a failure in the other part.
What role can a man play in the life of a woman who is financially empowered?
Support. It's just like the man. Everybody wants support. Everybody wants a cheerleader. Everybody wants someone who will listen to them. But it starts by not being timid or intimidated by it.
Businessmen, there's an association with infidelity.
When you can fund iniquity, it's different. There are some temptations that you don't have as a poor man, with due respect. There's evil that comes with many. You must define who you are. You must put boundaries. You must have a decent support structure. You must surround yourself with a squad of people who share your values.
Hello, everyone. You're welcome to the School of Bitter Truths. And on this episode, we're going to be having a very interesting conversation. And we're looking at marriage from a businessman's perspective, right? And that's very, 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 very important. And you know, on this podcast, we talk about the bitter truth. We're not sugarcoating anything. We are going to be very straight, direct. We're not going to pamper your emotions. We're going to tell you the bitter truth because that's what you need to know to build a healthy, strong, and a lasting marriage. And today, I have the Odogu himself. I have the Odogu himself. For those that don't understand, in Nigeria, we call, businessmen with a lot of weight. Odogus.
Okay, don't confuse my helpers, please.
So we have Mr. Obina Nwoji here, and we'll be discussing about marriage from a businessman's perspective. Mr. Obina runs chains of businesses across Nigeria, and is here to give us his depth of insight about this issue called marriage. Mr. Obina, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dennis.
We've been having different conversation behind the scenes about, how men, especially successful businessmen, business men in the workplace, how they handle their marriages, right? And it's like, right? I would like to hear your perspective. Like most men don't know how to manage running a successful business and running a successful home.
Okay.
And it's appearing like the more successful men are in business, the more they feel at home.
Okay.
What do you think about that?
Okay, thank you for that question. Honestly, when we talk about business and we talk about marriage, those are two institutions that require a lot of time, a lot of commitment, a lot of emotions.
Yeah.
And for many business people, it takes a lot. Before I got married, one of the fears of being an entrepreneur is that there were a lot of, when you look at a lot of high flyers, they either have awesome marriages or they have no marriages at all. I found very few in between, and that's because the demands from both is a lot.
Yes.
People underestimate how much work goes into building a successful enterprise. I envy 9 to 5 people because you can close by 5 o'clock. But even at the top of your career, you don't close by 5 o'clock.
Yeah, it's true.
If you're lucky, you close by 9 p.m. And even when you go home, you're still ruminating over the business.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you're lost in that pursuit. You're lost in, you have to make it. Honestly, there's a thin line between an irresponsible man and a man who cannot meet up with his financial responsibilities at home. So I always laugh when people say, hey, see, you have to be successful. You have to be able to meet the needs of your family. It's part of an expression of love. And so, but you're running a business that is also as demanding. So it can look like you're marrying two people. So marrying one person is hard enough. Now you have to marry two people. Your business requires you, and your family requires you. So I think I mean, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and for those who are married to businessmen too, it can be challenging.
You mentioned something, and a lot of men, I think you were one who said it, that most men would prefer to be a providing husband and an absent husband than to be a present husband that is struggling with providing for the family. And there's always that struggle. If I'm going to come to a point where I have enough money to provide for the kind of lifestyle my wife and my children need, I won't be available at home. But if I'm going to be available at home, I will not be financially empowered enough to provide that level of lifestyle. How do you think men can manage these different poles?
Like I said, it's like marrying two wives. Both of them are demanding. I think an understanding spouse helps. And I don't want us to water down and say, hey, be at home, be at home. Your home is more important than your job. Yes, it is, to be fair. Of what use is all the resources if you don't have a family? Some will argue that you get another family. However, it's difficult to sit and play beneath your potential. It's difficult to sit and not be able to provide for the needs of your family. Please don't get me wrong. Money is important, but money is not everything. However, let's not play down the role of money. And then you must put money in its place. I like a Yoruba proverb that says that the problem that money will cause, money cannot solve it. So let's not overstate the importance of money, but let us not take money for granted. However, depending on what season of life you are in, it can be demanding. In the early days of business, you're doing everything. You're spending long hours. Um, in fact, one difficult point that we hardly speak about is sometimes the man is present physically, but he's mentally absent. It's a difficult place to be. But I just want us to understand that even the man is trying. I think he needs to find a way to find the balance between it. Balance does not mean equality. So for me, what has worked for me is, I'm thinking, what has worked for me? I know a senior colleague who, for him, his own formula is he tries to sleep at home no matter what. So rule number one, come home every day, no matter what happens, as much as possible. He would just travel based on necessity. He won't spend an extra day. And I know somebody else who he gives 16 to 18 hours to work during the week, but he makes sure that he's at home on Saturdays. So Saturday, Sunday is family time. But I just think that when these demands are placed on men, they should be considerate, because a man who cannot provide for his home, it's not a good place to be. It's not a good place to be.
So, hey, this thing you're saying is very serious,
Okay.
and this is why I say so. I've had to work with a lot of marriages over the years, and one major problem I see that marriages have is when the man only thinks that his role as a husband is to be a provider. As long as I'm providing for this marriage, I'm paying the bills, I'm paying for the lifestyle, I'm good.
So let me say something. Many men are scarred. So imagine a young man, boy meets girl, and he's not able to provide. And based on lack of provision, he misses the girl that he loves. And I've seen it happen. Somewhere in his head, I didn't marry that young lady because I couldn't provide. And he tells himself, I will do everything to provide. The truth is that I think for you to be fulfilled, you need to find a way to balance both. Please, balance does not mean equal. Balance does not mean equal. Balance is just enough to get by. So money is very important, especially in our society. It's very important. So the question should be, how do we balance it? And yes, But let's even talk before marriage. It's also important to understand where your spouse is going to or who you want to marry. If you're going to marry a pastor, for instance, the demand on a pastor is different. And maybe you should talk to a pastor to say, hey, what's the lifestyle here? If you're going to marry an entertainer, not everybody can marry an entertainer. Not everybody can sit down and watch their husband kissing another woman. So just understand who you're getting married to and where they're going to. If you're going to get married to a very driven person, it comes at a cost. It comes at a cost. And the question is, can you toe that road? Because it takes a lot to build a business. And finding that balance can be difficult. But I am also not of the school of thought that you should abandon your family. I'm Christian, so I believe that the first responsibility after faith is family. But a core part of being a good father and a good husband is provision, And you also owe it to your children to see a model that has worked. So,
Mm, okay. So you mentioned the issue of balance. Even me myself, I'm having that challenge because if you're building a business or even if you're building a successful career, like you
yeah.
said, it requires a lot of time. And for me to balance that with family is sometimes struggle. I think that one also has to consider seasons. That there are seasons where you as a business, when your business is just starting, you might need to invest a lot of time. But as you grow, you might need to delegate a lot so that you now create time for family. Now, most of us young men are in a phase where you're just starting to build your career, your business, and you are also starting to build your family. Now, both of them are young, and both of them they need attention. When you were at that phase, can you tell us a story about how you were able to practically manage young business versus young family? How did you practically build that balance from your own experience?
So for my experience, I mean, in the early days of marriage, it was just my wife and I, right?
Okay.
So it was easy or let me say it was a bit easier. And then you have kids coming. There are different seasons. At the early stage of marriage, what do the children want? Attention. They want you to play with them, you know. At another stage, especially when they start getting to teenage, I even think that that is even a more interesting season where the children require you to they want a conversation, you know. Unfortunately, if you miss it at that time, it becomes harder. I remember one of the bank chiefs who was talking about, I don't want to mention his name, he was talking about the costs of building a bank. So they built a bank and he said one of the costs was family. And at the time, I recall him saying that he's retiring to see how much he can build of his family, especially with his teenage son. So yes, there are different seasons. What the children want. So let me compartmentalize it. There's you and your spouse, which you have to find a way to work. For instance, I have my structure is I take my wife to work every day. I have a driver, but I take my wife to work every day. And that's our gist time. As much as possible, I pick her from work. And this I did in Lagos. Now that I live in Abuja, I'm also able to do it. Are there times when I'm not able to do it? Yes. And so the driver steps in. Now, for me, that is our talk time. And then I crown it up with other things. So even within the family, there's you and your spouse, which I think you should always work because even the children will come and go. But even with the children, there are now seasons, And if you miss a particular season, it's difficult. So you have when they're toddlers and what they want from you is play, love, time, and all that. But in the teenage season, it now becomes they want to have a conversation with you. Interestingly, it's the foundation you have laid in the first season that helps with the second season. If you miss it then, it becomes harder, you know. So there will be different seasons. I know somebody who could not take some kind of business trips at a particular season of his life and business, not as much as he would have loved to take, because his children were young and he needed time with them. But as they grew into teenage, he could take a trip because at this time now, I can pick up the phone and have a conversation with my daughter. But if I have a 5-year-old, all she wants to see is me. She just wants to
Yeah.
see daddy. There was a time I traveled when my daughter was very young. I traveled for a long period of time. And there was something we used to do together, right? I would throw her in a particular way and she would respond. And so I came back and I tried to do that, and she was so afraid. And I'm like, wow, just in this period. So, but a supportive spouse is a big deal. And part of support is also understanding where the man is physically, financially, mentally, um, because men may not say it all, you know.
I'm actually coming to that because I was going to ask you, I'll ask you the needs of a businessman in marriage because I know a lot of women are going to watch this podcast and they don't know because men don't talk, don't express their needs, or they don't even express their expectations, and probably they are hurt. Women don't understand that the feelings of your husband is important. The husband has emotional needs that are also important. But we'll come to that. That's no, I don't want us to
Okay.
start with that yet. That will be what we'll talk about towards the end. But I want us to also look at this aspect of the fact because I want to pass a message to the mindset of most men. And here's what I mean. Like I said, most men think that all I just need to do is to provide. And one of the things I try to pass across is that yes, you are meant to provide. But the only thing you are meant to provide is not just money.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, I think that one of the major things a man is meant to provide is protection,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're meant to provide emotional safety. Because I've been in many situations where the man is saying, I don't understand why my wife is complaining. I go out there to work, to sacrifice. I work myself out to ensure the home is well taken care of financially. But my wife is not seeing that. My wife is not grateful. My wife is angry with me and I'm tired. Does she want me to kill myself? And when you listen to the wife is saying, yes, you provide, but I don't feel safe with you. I don't feel listened to. I don't feel seen. I don't feel understood. I don't feel you're not satisfying my emotional needs. And the men cannot relate.
Okay, I would say start from the expectations,
Mm,
So let's work on the expectations.
mm,
What are you expecting, right? Something happened between my wife and I recently. She was telling me what was happening at work. I know everybody in her office because I have to listen, you
mm.
know. And I told her I drive her from work.
Yes.
And she goes on and I'm like, Madam, summarize this gist. And she flares up, because it's a lot. You're listening and you're just going, because that's what she wants. But you see, it's also the expectations, like they say on the streets, sometimes women want a man who's closes by 4 o'clock but still brings Dangote kind of money. It's not realistic,
Mm,
right? I don't want us to downplay the role of money and the work that it has. Like I said, even men, there are scars on the streets. If I wanted to marry a lady and the reason why I was disqualified was because of money, I then feel like I have to make more to make that money. We also have a misplaced priority as a society, where money is everything. Money is a lot, but not everything. But I would just say that I want to appeal to the women to also understand. Sometimes the men are going through a lot, right? No, let me start from the men.
okay.
I would say understand that success in one area would never compensate for success for a failure in another area.
Success in
In
one
one area
area
would
will
not
never compensate
compensate
for failure
failure
in
in another
another area.
area. The question is not leave your job to come and be a good family man. The question is how do I pull these two together?
Mm,
And it will require a lot of wisdom. It will require a lot of compromise. It's demanding. So you're working twice as hard, But just remember that if you succeed in one part and you fail in the other part, there will still be gaps. So what do men really want? I'll say peace of mind first.
Mm.
You know, there's a lot of noise outside. There's a lot of, don't add to the noise, you know. And I know it's difficult. How do you communicate without nagging? Hey, I want this, but don't make a fuss over it. Men sometimes they sacrifice a lot on the streets. And now it's even interesting because the women too are working.
Yes.
So there's already a lot of tension. So I'll say, let's start from the expectations. It may not be realistic to expect me to sit down from 4 o'clock to 10 p.m. watching a series with you. It may not be. But what I'll try and do is that the 1 hour we're going to spend together, how do we make sure that we're talking about stuff that counts? I may not be able to make, I try to make every PTA meeting, but I can't attend every function in school. Let's be real. And these nice schools these days, they have all sorts of events. And I'm like, if I attend all these events, how will I get money to pay these school fees? And so when I have to marry the two and say between going to work to make the school fees or attending the events where you want me to be Father Christmas and all that, I would choose paying the school fees. However, is it possible for me to achieve both? And then you start building certain structures that can help you. Sometimes you lose a gig because you want to pass it on to the next person because you're not able to travel as much. So there are compromises. There has to be compromises. From the man's side, there has to be compromises. From the woman's side, there has to be compromises. But you see, it starts by marrying right. It starts by having an understanding spouse. It starts from discussing about things where you're going to with your spouse. And that's why I even think that marriage in the first place, just know who you are, know where you're going to. Like I said, not everybody can marry a pastor. Not everybody can. Not everybody can marry a politician.
Yeah.
There's a price to every journey. Of course, some would ask, but I didn't know he was going to be a politician when I got married. And that's the essence of people growing together. Sometimes that's also an issue. One person has outgrown the other person, and that's a problem. So I would say to men, as you're moving, drag your wife along, keep dragging her along. I've seen a situation where a guy grew in his career and he will have serious issues, but he couldn't discuss with his wife because she didn't understand. So I would say marry at your level and make sure that you're growing together so that you can still have that conversation.
So one of the beauty about this conversation is that you're trained, like gist, but you're giving a lot of solutions, right, while you're talking. Take, for example, you mentioned the fact that one of the ways you're able to spend great time for your wife is that you drive her to work.
Yeah, I mean, it will work differently for different people,
Yes.
but you need to find something.
Yeah, and you also mentioned the man that ensures he comes back home every night. I even think that one is a very important warning we have to give to a lot of men. I don't care what you do, find your way back home every night. That's a basic principle. Like, no matter what, if you are in town, always find your way back home, which is a very powerful thing because some men are just naive. Right? And you're now complaining that your marriage is breaking, your wife is angry. I have right now, as I'm here, I know a lot of men in my DMs that are begging me to talk to their wives. And I said, it's against my ethics. If you can't bring your wife for session, I'm not going to call her for you. Right? And because you waited until things are this bad, you've neglected your wife's needs consistently. Now, the things that will make you neglect your wife might be legit, but your wife needs are important. So here's what I want to do. There are three things you said I'm picking from you. Number one, as a man, you need to recognize that you need to develop capacity. Most men from childhood are trained to build capacity to be a provider. Make sure you have money. That's what we tell you. Have money, you'll be fine. And it's a lie. You can have money and you'll not be fine in marriage.
Yeah.
So there's a lie that, okay, just have money.
Mhm.
We are saying that have money is important. That's not a non-negotiable. However, you need to develop capacity to do more than just having money.
Yeah.
You need to be able to make your wife feel safe.
Yeah.
And what does that mean? It means that you have to be conscious that most women value their emotions a lot. And if you are a man, you don't consider your wife's emotions while you are making decisions, you are going to keep hurting her. Now, you are human, you are definitely going to hurt your husband, wife once in a while. But if it now become something you do over time, and you don't even give, you're not concerned, you're not even considerate of her feelings at all, that woman will grow to be bitter and resentful about you.
So let me say something. You know, it's also about being considerate.
Mm,
You know, you're talking about a man who is sensitive to his wife.
mm.
Sometimes you grow thick skin in the marketplace,
Ah,
right?
true.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Mm,
And so I always say things, and I think this applies to women. When you're entering the house, try and compartmentalize. You know, don't be the boss at home. You know, it can sound like you're living two lives. I don't want to be the boss at home. I want to try not to be selfish. Try and think about the next person. Put the other person's needs ahead of yours. Right. I also want to speak to that man who is present physically and is also absent, which is a thing.
mm,
Because so people will ask me, do I tell my wife everything? I tell my wife many things. I don't tell her everything.
mm,
Like a senior friend once told me, she knows the headlines of everything. But do I go into the details of everything? No.
mm,
And it's simple. I tell you a problem and I go and sleep. And I wake up and I see you ruminating over the problem. Meanwhile, the person that told you the problem and the person that's carrying the problem is sleeping.
mm,
It has nothing to do with capacity. It has everything to do with how we process things, you know. And so I don't tell her everything. So sometimes it's even in protecting you that I don't tell you the whole details. But I say, hey, I'm having issues with this. Just pray for me or do something. You know, so sometimes the man is present physically. People say as a man you should cry. You should cry in private, not in front of your family. I think so.
mm,
Because the captain of the ship cannot be there's a measure of stability that you require as a man. All those cry in front of your wife, open up in front of your wife, it's not real. It's just you have to be. And I'm not saying you should be macho to the point where you don't open up. And that's where we go. Balance. How do you balance it up? But like you rightly said, and I said earlier too, success in one path will not compensate for a failure in the other part. But if you have grown up in a society where it looks like money solves everything, the foundation is already poor. So you make money and you realize that it's not solving everything, then you make more money and more money and more money.
mm,
And then you just realize that there's still an emptiness, you know, that comes with it.
mm, mm. I have a lot of questions for you. Like I said, there are three C's that you are saying that most men need to develop. Number one is capacity. The second thing is compromise, and the third thing is communication.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you need to build capacity. You need to learn how to make compromises, and you need to communicate through the compromises. You
Mhm.
must manage these three things if you're going to have a successful business and a successful marriage.
Yeah.
And one of the things I personally want to impute in this session is the fact that I want men to understand that the needs of your wife or of your family is not just financial. Your wife has emotional needs. Your wife have or has sexual needs. Your wife needs you more than just the money you bring. And I'll just run through a short list of some of the things your wife needs. Your wife needs to be seen. Your wife needs attention. If you are giving your wife money and you're not giving your wife attention, You're standing on a long thing, oh, right? Your wife wants to feel seen. So I know you're busy. I know you have a lot on your head, but try to create time for your wife, right? As much as you can. Make sure you, the back of your mind, you know that your wife also is important and your children are important. Your wife needs to feel understood. Create time to listen to her. Your wife needs to feel valued and important. Remember birthdays. A lot of men, you forget your wife's birthday. You forget anniversary. You will not be there to celebrate your wife. There will be a problem. Oh. Your wife also wants loyalty. Your wife wants to always know that she's the only woman in your life. Not that you are sharing the affection that is only for your wife. You are sharing it with other women. There will be problems. Your wife wants to feel protected. Protect your wife when you're dealing with your family. Not that your siblings can abuse your wife. Your siblings can disrespect your wife and you will not defend her. It's very, very important. Make sure you're not threatening your wife. Right? Make sure you're not doing something intentionally to hurt her. Make sure you're not verbally abusing your wife. Make sure you're not cheating. You cannot be cheating on your wife. You are providing for her and you expect her to be okay. But there are some women that will be okay, but most will not. Right? These are critical things you need to know. And sometimes they are not costly. It's just you don't know that this is needed and you're not intentional about it. All right, that's very, very important. Now, let's quickly address this issue of insecurity in men. The fact that most women have a problem with seeing their wife successful. So your wife is probably getting promotion in her career, or your wife starts making a lot of money, or even start making more money than you, right? And a lot of men struggle with that. There's this fear of my wife will start to disrespect me. My wife will start to treat me like a woman. We can't have two men in this marriage. How do you think? What's the right perspective to that, and how do you think men can handle that?
Interesting. So, but I'll pick on something you said earlier first.
Okay.
And I just want to drop in there that I don't think you can have a successful family. No, you have to be intentional about it. That's my point. You can't have a good family by mistake.
Yeah.
It can't be by mistake. It can't happen just
True.
like that. You have to be intentional, and so you must find a way to make both work. Yes, yes, yes. I think that sometimes many men are insecure. I've seen men pull their wives down, and so I would say to a young lady who wants to get married, you have to make sure that whoever you're getting married to is secure in himself. You know, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, generally, men earned more. And so many men built their reputation on being providers. Fast forward to a new season now. I've seen cases where same qualification, same exposure, but the woman is earning more. Where does that leave the home? Please go back to what I said about the problem money will cause. Money will not solve it. Right? If your whole manhood is built on provision, on money, then you have a problem with it. Because now your wife is earning more. Of course, even the woman, you have to now put things in perspective. Um, does earning more make you the head of the home, for instance? What does it mean to be the head of the home? Is it to be Lord and Master? First of all, if you see marriage as collaboration, if you see marriage as partnerships, I'm Christian, so I believe that the man is the head of the home, but it doesn't make the wife any less. I think that you should work on your insecurities. I want my wife to earn plenty money. I will chill and chop the money too. Do you get? And that's where, when you see marriages where there's partnership, there's friendship, where I believe that your success is my success, it becomes less competitive. Where you put money where it should be, meaning, yes, I make more money, but that's by the side. But I mean, the reality is what it is. What if your wife earns more? Do you now drag her down? I've seen men do very silly things based on insecurity. I've also seen women who roll differently now because there's more resources, and you think that And you allow what should have been a blessing in the home, which is more resources, to now become a curse. So I think men should work on their security. I think if you're young and you're not married, leave love first. If you already see that there's a measure of insecurity in this person, I think you should run away. I think you should run away. Yeah.
So there are two parts to that conversation.
Yeah.
The role a man is meant to play when you see that your wife is, beginning to earn more than you, becoming more financially empowered.
Yeah.
There's a role that a man has to play
Yeah.
to ensure the balance in the marriage. And also there's a role the woman has to play,
Yeah.
because like you said, there are women, once they start earning more, they begin to, do things they're not meant to. They begin to disrespect the man, right? They begin to have certain conversation that is improper. So the two parties need to work on themselves. Now, what should a man do, or what role can a man play in the life of a woman who is financially empowered? Because that's where a lot of men miss it, because they build their identities around, I'm a provider. Now, this woman does not need your money. What else can you do for her?
Support. Trust me, that woman, it's just like the man. Everybody wants support. Everybody wants a cheerleader. Everybody wants someone who will listen to them. But it starts by not being timid or intimidated by it, And it's not just money. Sometimes it's fame, it's exposure. Suddenly, I've seen cases where the man is not doing badly, but the woman just is at the spotlight. So what you do as a man, you provide support, because there's a lot of pressure. For the average woman who is doing that well, there's a lot of pressure. The marketplace is still largely male dominated, and so there are things on her mind. And so you can provide leadership. Leadership is a big deal. Leadership is a very big deal. And the leader is not always the richest.
Yes.
But that stability, that support, but it starts by not being intimidated. It starts by not being intimidated. You can't lead somebody who you're intimidated by. If this person was your G from day one, remember when we were in school, your money is your, Oga, keep your money. We're friends. We have a rapport. And so can we stick to that? Let money not now become the problem. But I'm saying that no matter how great that woman or man is, she wants to know that, okay, this is somewhere I am safe. This is somewhere I can express myself. There's somebody rooting for me. You know how, a child is performing on stage and she's frightened and she just looks and her eyes are on her father to say, okay, even if everywhere is trembling, my father is there and he believes in me. So there's a lot you can do for that woman, because for women, we still live in a largely male-dominated society. So a woman at the top, she needs a lot of support. Be that guy. Be that guy, rather than compete, rather than tear her down. It annoys me when I see men who now try to drag the woman down.
So from what you've said, number one is that you should be your wife's biggest support system.
Yes, you should.
You should be your wife's safe space.
Yes, you should.
You should be the kindest person on earth to your wife.
You'll try.
Yeah. All right. You should be your wife's closest friend or best friend. When I mean that is that because you provide support, right?
Yeah.
You should serve your wife in the sense of meeting her needs.
Yeah.
Right. She may be more successful than you in quotes, because success is relative.
Relative, yeah.
Right. So we cannot say we can't compare though.
Yeah.
But let's say she makes more money than you, she's doing well. You can be a biggest support system, a safest place, be a number one fan, right? And also be that peace of mind for her, that when she comes home, she knows that she has someone she can rely on, someone she can trust, someone that is a personal person, and which is what some men lack. Now, let's go to the woman, because some men will come and tell you that I know my wife. If she get money, she go show me paper. And there are actually instances, practical instances of men that will do everything they can to move their family to the West. And as soon as the woman start earning money, the woman starts showing in paper. So some women see that as a payback time.
Yeah.
Right. Now to the women, how do they, and because a lot of women mean, so, you've seen that women have, this mindset of women have suffered. Now that we now have it, it's time to show the men to what is the right mindset of a financially empowered woman. How should she treat her marriage and how should she treat her husband?
Money is good, but let money be in its place.
Mm.
Do you understand? If money now becomes the unit for making decisions, so do you respect Mr. A more because he earns more money?
Mm.
The problem that money will cause, money will not solve.
So,
And I say this as a businessman, I like money, I drive for profit, but let money just stay where it should be. Let money just stay where it should be. Even with the children, more money can cause a problem.
mm.
More money can cause a problem. Let money stay where it should be. So, but you see, money brings out a lot. A wicked person is a wicked person. Money has, and there are people who think they are rich, but relatively they are poor. But you now see a level of wickedness, you see a level of bad behavior.
Mm.
And this happens irrespective of gender. Don't let money become an idol. And that's why you see certain rich people, the first identity they have is not even about the money. You have interacted with somebody before you realize that, oh, he has XYZ. But you see somebody who has small money and nobody can hear word again because you've made small money. It's when you let money take its wrong place, when you glorify money, like they say, mammon,
Mm.
So that lady who is misbehaving in the West has just found an opportunity to express a bad behavior that has always
Who's
been
been
there.
there? Mm.
And it happens with the guys too. I spoke earlier about how if you have a heightened sense of what money should do, then you start behaving badly.
Mm.
Don't give money a higher place than it should.
It should be. Awesome. Awesome. Now let's talk about the fact that more wealth. Yes, something you said that money will bring out what is already inside of you.
Yeah.
If you are a if you are a disrespectful human being, when money comes, you become more disrespectful. Right. So if you see a woman that is disrespectful to her husband because she now has more money, it's because she has always been disrespectful. Lack of money just suppressed that. If you see a man that became very promiscuous because he had money, I don't know whether this one is correct though.
Okay.
You will tell me whether I'm correct. Money will bring out that promiscuity. Right. Now, let's talk about that. This fact that it as if businessmen, there's an association with infidelity with businessmen. I don't know whether that's true. How can a man, or what do you think? What's your thoughts about the fact that some men cheat? I don't want to say men cheat. No, we had a conversation. I'm going to expose you here. That I told you, I believe that there are more faithful men than cheating men, and you said no, that there are more cheating men than faithful men. I want to hear about that.
Did I say that?
You said that. You said that.
Well,
I can understand where you're coming from.
money is interesting, because when you can fund iniquity, it's different. When you can afford certain things, it's different. And I would also say, depending on where you are in your business life, you also need to be aware. When you are hustling, there are things that won't cross your mind. As your liquidity grows, and there are some temptations that you don't have as a poor man, with due respect, So in terms of infidelity, even if you don't go for it, you need to realize that there's evil that comes with money. More people are attracted to it. More people are attracted to your promotion. More people are attracted to your success. And so I would say that as you grow as a man, if your intention is to be faithful to your spouse, because like I said, Not everybody thinks it's wrong. And it still goes back to the foundation, Some people think that marriage plus one X is enough. Some people think that marriage plus two. Like, I like something, not that I agree, but one guy said, I like my girlfriend, but I have only one. She keeps me faithful. I said, guy, chill. I have only one girlfriend, so she keeps me faithful to my wife. So left to him, having one inverter is enough.
Kai.
And so it goes back to perspective. It goes back to what do you consider right? So for some men, it's not as bad as you think, depending on where you're coming from. This is not an approval of it, But irrespective, you must have some discipline to your life. You can't just follow everything in skirts. But you see, the infidelity part is one part. What about the ego that comes with it? What about many other things that come with wealth? Do you get? What about the new friends that come and introduce you to many other things? Depending on the industry you are, you may find yourself exposed to things that you didn't think you were able to do. People have made money and have gone into drugs. People have made money and you find yourself funding things that you never thought you could do before. Because but I just think that you must define who you are, you must put boundaries, you must have a decent support structure. You must surround yourself with a squad of people who share your values. But yes, especially when you come into it very fast, if you don't have the structures, you may find yourself in places that.
So what are the dangers that successful men face in the business space, in the market space? You mentioned something earlier that, and maybe wives need to know. I know of our pastor that used to say something like, I hope I'm quoting him right. That when your husband becomes successful, you need to realize that it becomes a target for a lot of girls and a lot of women. And we at least, and I mean, you are in that, you know, hospitality space, and you understand what is going on. The fact that there are young girls that are strategically planning and having successful men as their targets. This is not an excuse for men to cheat, but we are saying that it's a reality. What do you think about that reality? Is it a reality? I want you to be real.
It's
What is
a
going
it's,
on?
it's a reality. It's a reality as you grow. People are attracted. The babes are there, and depending on where you're coming from, suddenly what you used to struggle for now is available everywhere. You drop your card and people are willing to call you. It's a thing. So I even think that is something you should prepare for as a man. Do you get? You should prepare for it. You're traveling for business. As you're traveling, you know that there's evil waiting there too. It's not only business. Many things happen when you travel. If you don't prepare ahead, if you don't put boundaries, if you don't put certain boundaries, even the best of men will fall. I even think that the men who don't fall is because of hardcore boundaries. So it's the truth. That success comes with evil. That success comes with exposure. As your husband is growing, if you're a spiritual person, pray for him. And vice versa. I'm not saying that women don't have their issue. Infidelity may not be number one, but for a man, so yes, it's true. It's true. So pray. But even as a man, you now need to put boundaries. Because on the marriage side, yes, it can be an issue, but the many great men have fallen because of sex. It's a tool. It's a tool in the marketplace. So you have to put boundaries. But is it a thing? It's a thing. But the first thing is, there are women who are complaining about these things, but I've met men who genuinely don't think it's bad. They don't think it's bad. They just think it's part of life. So how are you trying to tell a man who thinks that it's a natural part of life? He won't bother with the boundaries. But even if you have to do it, which I don't think you should, but you should protect your family. It takes a real man to grow a family. You can't expose your family unduly. I think it's wrong.
Mm, mm, mm. So, you said something very important. and hopefully, let me see if we can even simplify it
Okay.
so that people are clear.
Yeah.
Is the fact that if you are going to be a faithful man, especially as you grow, that you need to, number one, you said you need to set boundaries. I want to ask what type of practical boundaries men can set. Number two, you said that you have to surround yourself with good friends, right? Because I think one of the things that success wealth can expose you to is a new level of friends and fraternities that can actually sway you.
Mm-hmm.
And evil communication will definitely corrupt good manners.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I think also that some men have ambition issue. You are so ambitious, you are so desperate that you are easily lured into what you're not supposed to do. So apart from boundaries and having friends, good friends, what other things should a man put in place so that he does not go into infidelity? Because most men don't even start out like planning to cheat on their wives, but they end up doing because of naivety. So what do you think?
I'll swing towards the faith side. You
Mm,
know, the first reason for me not to drive in that direction is I'm accountable to God, right? So based on my faith, I will not approve of it. So it starts from the foundation. How do you tell a man who does not think it's wrong not to do it?
mm,
So if he doesn't think he's wrong, then he would not need the boundaries. But of course, also knowing that now you're coming into certain things, you the boundaries would differ for different people. It would differ. So for instance, I don't entertain certain kind of conversations. Do you get? Um, I'm not immune. I'm not made of wood. But nothing just ever happens. It's a build up. So I avoid certain kinds of conversations. That's a clear boundary. If I travel for business, I will do everything not to entertain you in my room.
mm,
You know, we're both on the fourth floor. We'll go downstairs to the restaurant to have a drink. Now, because entertaining you in my room is creating an atmosphere that stuff can happen. If that's my intention, it makes it easier. But because I know that that's not what I want, so sometimes, like I said, business travel is a very interesting time. So I try not to leave vacuum.
mm,
So vacuum also creates a lot. So there are boundaries and it would differ. You would know. The first thing is that what you want to do? For the guy who doesn't think he's wrong, then we're fighting a different battle. But if you think that, okay, no, I would rather not walk this path,
mm,
then it's easier to say, okay, how? Because saying you don't want to do it is not enough. If you don't put the infrastructure to say X, Y, Z, you may find yourself in dark places.
mm, mm. Wow, awesome. So let's go into the needs of a businessman or a need of of a husband of a man, right? Sometimes a lot of men feel neglected, right? And that's one of the reasons why some men even they become susceptible to cheating. But like I said, there's no, in my own opinion,
Mm-hmm.
there's no excuse for you to engage in infidelity. However, I think a lot of men actually feel neglected, right? In their marriages, they feel like their needs are not met. And some men, the way they're able to cope with the challenges in their marriage is to become workaholics, right? You see men that don't want to go home, they'd rather be at work. They'll just spend time in there because when they go back home, there's no peace at home. There is no, their needs are not met. So what am I even doing at home? So can you just talk about how women can meet the needs of their husbands and especially even, men that are into business or that are doing well at work?
Well, I would say the first thing a man needs and it works both ways, right? It's peace. What does peace mean? I mean, let's not fight over everything.
Mm,
I mean, there's a proverb that says that if the hand is going to be clean, it's an Igbo proverb that the left will wash the right and the right will wash the left. So the first thing you want to do is try and make sure there's peace at home. Peace at home it comes with compromise too. Does that mean you should not communicate when things are not right? No, you should communicate, but you also don't need to know when to communicate. You need to just peace is cannot be overstated. Do you get? Of course, the man has sexual needs. The man has, but I would say the most important thing is peace. Peace. Just there's enough trouble on the streets. Just give me peace first.
Peace of mind.
Peace of mind.
So let me talk about other things men need apart from peace. Peace is, I think, number one thing most men need. I think the second thing is respect. Right? Most men really, really value respect, and respect is very important. So some men see love as respect.
Yeah.
If you claim to love me but you don't respect me, then there was there.
You're right.
Another thing, I think men need loyalty. What do you say at my back? Do you have my back? Would you throw me under the bus?
Well, I think both spouses. I mean, we all need it. If I can't even trust you in the first place, then maybe why are we married? Well, there are many other reasons why people get married, actually. But in a good marriage, loyalty should
be mutual.
Should be mutual.
Mutual. All right. I actually have a lot more questions, but because of time, and we have to close this episode at this point. What are your final words if you are going to give your best advice to a young businessman or to a young man that just got married? What would be your best advice?
Life is hard. Success is harder than you think. Don't listen to those who tell you. No, let me rephrase that. You need to succeed both in your career and your business, as well as your family. It takes a real man to grow a family. So it's going to take you twice the work. And succeeding in one area will never compensate for the other area. You need to succeed in both. And so it's going to take twice the work. There's no shortcut around it. You have to find a way to be a great businessman, a great career person, but also find a way to be a good father, to be a good husband. Husband first before father. Because the children will come and go, and then you have a spouse. You have to find a way, and it's going to take twice the effort. Don't neglect one for other.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So we've come to the end of this episode. We would like to hear from you. If you have any questions, you have comments for us or feedback for us, please make sure you put in the comment section. And I'll be there to respond to your comments, to your questions. Then you can follow Mr. Obina on Instagram. I've been on his neck, and he has been doing well creating content. If you want to learn more from him, you can follow him. What are the platforms we can follow you on?
You'll post it.
Okay, yeah. So I'm going to post it also. So please make sure you subscribe. Whatever platform you're listening to this, make sure you subscribe, because we're going to be giving you more content on how you can build a healthy, strong, and a lasting marriage. I'll see you on the next episode. Bye for now.